your host, Mimosa,
and co-host Kareem.
Welcome to Sometimes We're Bougie and Sometimes We Hood, to healing, navigating grief. It's a podcast dedicated to exploring the complex emotions of loss, the road to healing, and the strength found in remembrance. Welcome to Sometimes We Bougie.
Sometimes we're hood.
It's a podcast dedicated to exploring the complex emotions of loss, the road to healing, and the strength found in remembrance, where we speak about the truth about loss, healing, and everything in between. This space where we keep it classy and real about life, loss, and everything in between. I'm your host, Auntie Mimosa, and I don't know where Cousin Kareem just disappeared to.
Hey, I'm right here. Give me a minute. Oh, man.
And whether you're in the depths of grief, slowly learning to live with loss, or supporting someone on their journey, this space is for you. Grief is deeply personal. There is no timeline, no rule book, no right way or wrong way to navigate it. But through shared experiences, honest conversations, and moments of reflection, we can find comfort, understanding, and hope. Today, we are diving into the topic that often gets overlooked in healing, which is the small wins, right? Everybody always talks about healing and how to get through healing. So talk about those small wins, some of the things that we often forget about. So, those tiny, quiet victories that, that people don't think matter, right? And that don't make it to social media. Those mornings you finally get out of bed and the day you laugh again without guilt. It's the moment you say no and actually mean it. That's what healing really looks like, and not the highlight reel, right? But the slow, steady rebuilding of your spirit, right?
Yep.
So, and we often share personal stories here on the podcast, and that's a way of healing. We talk about journaling, we talk about meditation, we've talked about holding on to those things, those little things, or those personal items of grief, and different things that we hold on to. But let's like really dive in on healing, right? And the day you knew that you were healing, or the day you felt like you were healing. So, yeah, what did that, can you think back, Cousin Kareem, on that day when you like really felt like, okay, I think I can get back to quote unquote normal after your mom transitioned?
Yeah, I think I can do that. I think it was probably about 3 years after.
Okay.
Yeah, it was 3 years after, because I had to deal with my divorce. And it was 2021. So 99, my mom passed away. And then 2002, the divorce went through after a year. I had dealt with this person. How do I say it? She willfully negated filling out the paperwork 3 times.
Okay.
First, she quote unquote lost it. Paperwork.
Right.
A month after I had filed. I think I filed in August. And then she lost it. And then she didn't tell me. No, she did tell me. She goes, I lost it. I was like, what? What do you mean you lost it?
Mm-hmm.
And then she mishandled the paperwork. It fell in the toilet.
Oh my.
Yeah. And then so she didn't think, let's let it dry out. It's printed. It's not like magic marker. It's not going to run or nothing like that.
Right.
But she just left it in the toilet and continued to flush it. And then the third time, she just didn't go pick it up. And so it went by a whole year, and I found out I'm sitting waiting at work, like down the block, like 6 blocks away. And I'm like, hey, call up the city council. I'm like, did she turn in the paperwork? It's like, oh no, we sent it out like a year ago. I'm like, excuse me. And so I say, okay, I'm gonna come out here. Oh, you can't. You're the defendant. I'm like, no, I'm coming down and getting it. So I went down there and I argued, and the person was like, you want it? Here, take it. You know what I mean? It's your divorce. It's like, yeah, it is my divorce. So why are you arguing with me about why I need to establish my results? She's not coming down to get it. It's been sitting here for 4 months.
So how long after that did you realize like you were healed?
3 years. Yeah, 3 years. Because my mom had passed away 2 years before that. No, a year later. Because I had just finally just said, I'm done with this whole thing. It was like, so no, I'm sorry. It was that year after I got it all finalized, and they gave me my paperwork, and I went straight to her house and dropped her for a copy and said, here, we're divorced. And that was that. It was just like, she's like, and it was okay. We're straight now. There's nothing else for us to do. There's no
so you had two things to kind of get over: the transition of your mom's, your mother's transition, along with the divorce. So it, having the two things together, you basically had your healing process after that. Is that what you're explaining?
Yeah.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah. It was just all in one. Everything was tied up in itself. And for that year, it really, those 2 years, that year, it took me, I went through like a crazy change because I wasn't selling cars because I was selling cars. First of all, let's just get that out of the way. I was selling cars. And if anybody ever sold cars, it's a traumatic event in your life. Like every month, it starts over again.
Okay.
And you have to re-establish yourself. You gotta, you know what I mean? 1 month you can sell like 20 cars, and the next month you can sell like 8. You know, if anything gets in the way. And I was selling like 8 cars. I was at the minimum. And then all of a sudden, after I got divorced, it was like snap. I went right into selling like 20 cars. And then I went to 30 cars. And it was just like, it just progressively like got up. It was like 20, next month 23, and 27, then 30. It was like, I was like, damn. Like, literally like my negative energy that was keeping me from eluding to this new revelation of living.
Of healing, right.
Healing, yeah. And it was just like, it made sense that I would come out in that aspect because it was perfect, because during the whole divorce, it was everything susceptible in the divorce to your income. And it came down to a point where she realized that I wasn't behind like she thought I was. And I was making more. Oh, no. What happened was she had, so in the meantime, pressing going forward, like the first, it was set up in the decree that if I missed half my payment, because I was paying twice a month, that she would just say, you got to pay a whole payment, and it would go up. And so I did that. I had one bad month, and I'm like, look, I had a bad month. Can you just give me a break? No, I'm not going to give you no break. And so she tallied it up, to the full month. And so coming back to it, when I started making money at the dealership, everything just kind of came easy. And then she realized that I was making more money. And then she tried to sue me for more money. And it went through for like a month. But then it came back to bite her because she never told the new judge that we had a predetermined amount set in a decree for her to make. And so when he found out, when I found, I got served. And then I'm like, nah, this is all set. And then he found out, he was like, wait, what? And then the lady found out, the head of the department found out. She was like, oh, hell no. She went back and changed it back. And then cited her like $2,500 for lying about not knowing that we had
set the predetermined amount. Exactly. Well, let me ask you this. So, like, why do you think society glorifies like big transformations, but when it comes to healing, like healing is rarely cinematic? Like have you ever noticed like how society loves a before and after? Like we love the glow up pictures, the comeback stories, the big public transformations, and like the versions where somebody loses weight and gets the degree, leaves the toxic relationships, starts the business, and then suddenly they're healed, right?
Yep.
But
it never happens that way.
Right. Exactly. So, and here's the truth behind that.
In real life.
Healing doesn't come with a soundtrack, right? Perfect lighting or a grand reveal, right? It's not cinematic. Healing is not cinematic. It's quiet and it's private, and sometimes it's even ugly, right? So think about it, right? Our culture celebrates the destination, right? The end goal, the end goal, right? Not the process to get to the end goal. And I really believe so many people forget there's a process. And especially today where everything is so instant, right? I want it now. I want it today. It got to happen now, instant. That they have forgotten about the process to getting to the end, right? So with that, we're taught to perform progress instead of live it, right? When it comes to social media, so many people live their lives on social media. We post a highlight reel because it's the in between, looks like what's in between and looks like crying in the shower, right? Ignoring text messages or going to therapy and realizing you've been carrying wounds since childhood. And those are the parts like that don't get the likes. But that's where the real work happens, right? That's where the work happens. It happens in the ugliness. That's where healing takes place. I know for myself, I would say for me, it was a year, and I'm not completely healed. Okay. When I talk about healing, like that moment after, or that time after the transition of Deej and my grandmother, it was a year. I want to say, and I'm not healed from it, but it was a year before I was able to get back to doing the things that I enjoy doing and like really get back to, making my banana pudding and, baking and things of that. It was a full year. It was a full year before I felt like I was somewhat myself. And then even then, I'm still learning who I am today without Darius and without my grandmother and without my mother and without my sisters. I'm still learning who I am without them. You know, but it's that what they say, the big transformations, right? The big transformations, they're easy to market because they fit neatly into the story arc, right? It's a beginning, a middle, and the big end, the triumphant end. But real healing doesn't have that structure.
No.
Right? You can be better one day and broken the next. You could be laughing while you're still grieving. You could be thriving and triggered in the same hour. So the journey doesn't look like a straight line. It looks like scribbles, setbacks, small restarts, and it's okay because that's human, right? It's okay. It really is.
Work out.
Mm-hmm. And the reason, like this topic, I thought about this topic in the healing journey is because Friday, welcome in everybody, welcome in on TikTok. On Friday, I had an opportunity to meet with a client that experienced a transition of a family member, and they were of course they were naturally upset, and they felt like it wasn't fair because they had lost their mom, and it was several years ago that they lost their mother. And their statement to me was they were tired. It was like, I didn't even get over this yet. And I explained to them, well, you're not going to get over it.
Yeah.
You don't ever get over it. Grief is something that is always with you. And I utilized our terminology when we talk here on the podcast. I explained to him that grief, is like the backpack. And it was so funny because he had on a backpack. So I was like, grief is like that backpack you got on. Unfortunately, with grief, you don't ever take it off. You don't ever take it off, and you consistently carry it, but it shifts. The weight shifts. It might get lighter, it might get heavier. It may, be full sometimes, it might be empty, but at the grief, just there is no, like I explained to them, there's no right or wrong way to deal with it. It comes and goes. It's like that roller coaster ride. You know what I'm saying? So you got that steep incline. It takes you some time to get up. And then once you're at the top, you might be there for a while. And the next thing you know, you hit that down slope and you speed it with your heart racing, screaming at the top of your lungs, just full of anger. We all deal with it, and we deal with it the best way that we know how to deal with it. Some days are easy, some days are more difficult. As they say, it is what it is when it comes to grieving. However, that healing process in grieving, right, Mandelion said everybody deals with it different. Exactly, Mandelion, they do. Everyone deals with that grief the way they know how. And it is, and unfortunate is, and I kind of think that, I want to say, like, I don't know if anybody's ever, and I'm probably going to do that one day. I'm going to take a look at YouTube and see if anyone really like videoed or like did a video diary of their healing process after someone in their life transition, and see how that, if anyone has done that. But you don't see that in the movies. Like there's no movie, right? There's no I don't know anybody, if anybody can tell me there's a movie out here about grief and healing, and if you can tell me the title, You know what I'm saying? Because I don't think there is a movie out here about grief and healing like that, that underdog story. You don't hear that and you don't see it. And it's not something that's talked about. And that's why we came up with this podcast. Sometimes we bougie, sometimes we hood. It's a grief podcast. And we talk about the real and the dirty about it. And healing it's not easy. It's not easy, you know. So, Cousin Kareem, tell me like about a time when you were in your grief and in your healing, your road to healing. Like, what are some things that you can think about that you may have done? Like, even it, like say, the good, bad, the ugly. Some good stuff. Was there some good things, some bad things, some not so nice things?
Yeah. Yeah. Like, there's a lot that goes into that. I mean, it's just, it depends on, like, I always believe that it depends on how close you are to that person, how they really activated in your life, how they activated in your life. Like, were they're daily joining in, were they just there every quarter and they impacted your life? If not, then you really can't tell what how they were instrumental in your life. And then what were you talking about during those times?
Right.
That makes the difference. I mean, there's a lot that goes into a conversation. If you're just talking about,
I think I lost Cousin Kareem.
Yeah, I just hit the button. I hit the button. Actually, I tapped it. I didn't realize I tapped it. But yeah, it's just about the significance in the conversations that you're having. Because a lot of times we think that when we're talking about this, like our daily going on, the other person is sitting back like, okay, and then nothing's really coming out of it. There's no growth. But if you're talking about something that's significant, then there's always going to be growth in the conversation.
Right. So we have a comment from Mandelion on Facebook, and he says, like, everyone thinks he should celebrate his parents passing on social media, like every birthday, and he doesn't always feel like posting something to prove that he loves them. And I agree with that. I definitely agree with that. So, and I didn't do it. I know, like, my grandmother's transition, like anniversary of her transition in September, I didn't post anything. And I'm sure some people in my family were looking for me to post, and I didn't want to. I wanted to celebrate, not necessarily celebrate her transition, but I wanted to honor her memory my way. And I just didn't feel like posting it was the best thing to do. I just had my own personal time with that. And you're right. So, like I said, as a society, we glorify only the big moments. We make people feel like their small steps to healing don't matter. Like, if they're not reinventing themselves overnight, they're failing. But healing is not, it's not a competition. It's a commitment, right? The real glow up it isn't external, it's internal. It's the quiet confidence that says, I'm learning to live again at my own pace, right?
Yep. That's
it, right? So maybe, like, we should really start clapping for the subtle transformations, like the ones no one sees, like the moments where you tell the truth instead of hiding it, like the times you rest instead of forcing yourself to push through. That's healing, right? That's healing. And it might not look, like we said, it's not going to look like the movies. It's not going to look like the social media sparkly, but it's still magical. It is still healthy. You know what I'm saying? It's just the kind that happens like in real life, right? So Man Leon said his dad's birthday was September 24th, and people feel like he didn't post, so he didn't love them. And I believe what takes place in our healing process is that we don't always have to showcase that. We don't always have to
Yeah.
showcase our love for that person, for our parents via social media. We don't always have to showcase our love on that birthday, during that holiday, on that transition anniversary. We don't have to do that. We don't have to do that all the time. Now, if somebody else wants to do it, then allow them to do it. But what I find that takes place with social media is the family members and friends, they look for that person who always does it to continue to do it for them, right? And then when that person or that individual does not post, now you have something to say. Well, then you do the post.
Yeah.
You make the post, right? You do it. If that person meant so much to you, why are you waiting for me to do it?
Yeah, people get locked into this whole suggestion of, oh, if you're not commenting, if you're not making a post, then you must not really care. And it's just like, who said that? Let's dive into the person out who originally said that we need to make these posts. Not a lot of people are happy about my relationship with this person. So why should it make a difference whether I post or not? Because what I'm posting about might not truly affect what's happening in your life.
Mm-hmm.
It's for me. It's for me to get my expressions out. It's for me to get everything that I need out.
Mm-hmm.
And if I got it out, that's it. If I felt I got it out, then that's it. Then everything else is just really minor compared to that after that. Because I don't need to express it every day on that day, just because that's the day left. No, I should be able to post it on any time of relevance that comes up about that person, because that's what that person meant to me. If I'm feeling down about something, if I'm feeling great about something, I should be able to post that. But me sharing that is not a necessary point of view that has to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I think too many people get caught up in this oversharing, this over caring network of social media.
Right.
But you gotta live your life on social media, and it's like, for what? Right. Because if you don't get no likes, then am I gonna need to comment on you not liking my post? Why didn't you like my post? Like, why didn't you say anything back? It's like, it just gets too much.
Right.
It becomes too much.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not worth it. It really diminishes the effect of everything.
Right.
The people who are the closest to you at that time, the closest to that situation, close to these people, they're the people that if they want to post, they'll post. But if not, and leave it alone.
Right. Right. Definitely. So, how grief recovery isn't like, well, we know grief recovery is not linear, right? We all know it loops, it dips, it circles back. You have thoughts that, when you're finally over something and then out of nowhere, it hits you again, right?
Yeah.
It's that smell, it's a song, a random Tuesday, and suddenly you're right back in the thick of your grief, in the thick of that pain that you thought you buried months ago, right? So we understand that is grief. It's not a straight line. It's a spiral, and it doesn't mean you're going backwards. It just means like you're moving deeper into that love. And I've always said that grief is love with nowhere to go, because that person is not physically in front of us anymore. So we're not able to pour that love into that person physically with the hugs and the kisses and the gifts and the talking, the conversation. So grief is love with nowhere to go. We don't have nowhere, any place else to put it for that particular person. But what I'm saying all that to say that people love to say like time heals all wounds. But what they don't tell you is that, or what the truth of that is, time does not heal all wounds. We heal our own wounds. And sometimes healing looks like crying over something you thought you would have made peace with, or feeling angry again after months of calm. And it's not regression, it's revisiting, right?
Yeah.
And I can tell you when I in that anger, oh my gosh, like I can't tell you, there are times when I think about Darius's untimely transition and I get very angry. Very angry. Okay. Because I really believe and feel that my son should not have been taken away from me so soon. Like he still had life to live, and I wanted grandchildren from him. And you know what I'm saying? Like there was we had plans. My oldest son and I, we had plans, and those plans were disrupted because of his untimely transition. So yeah, I still get pissed when especially in May, because that's his transition month. I become very angry in May. I really do. I get very angry. And I'm very testy, the same thing. November's coming up, even though it's Thanksgiving, but November is going to be a challenging month for me because it's Deej's birthday, it's my grandmother's birthday, it's Thanksgiving, and I know the family, they're looking for us to all come together, and at that same time I'm like, he should be here.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? He should be here to celebrate with us. I don't get upset. I get a little melancholy behind my grandmother because I understand, she was 88 when she transitioned. So, and like I said, we all have different feelings depending on the closeness we are to that individual. We all have different feelings depending on the age of that individual. We all have different feelings about where we are with that individual. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And so, yeah, it's very different. It is very different. Give us some insight.
Yeah, I think it has a lot to do with what people expect from that insight into those people. But it's like my man, Byron Pack, he was a dude from England, like literally from.
Oh, cousin Kareem is he's glitching.
That he used to try to be American. Well. And not British accent.
Oh, you're glitching.
Okay, so how's that? Is that better?
There you go.
Yeah, so he tried to talk without the British accent. And then he got to high school and he's like, you know what? It's just dumb. I'm just gonna be myself. And people gonna like it, they're not gonna like it, whatever. And he went back to talking with his English accent, the British accent, whatever. And it made him stand out more because people didn't recognize the fact that they were British people, brothers in England, but now that I'm looking out for that fact, not because I guess it is because of him. It is because of him. I realized that King James was a brother. He was a gay brother, and he was part of the higher end Moors that were there at the time. But through decades of him being around, he changed the philosophy of the books, that he was in control of, or he had control over. And it changed the philosophy of what we now look at when we look at the King James Version. Even still, most people would relegate his existence to being a white person. But he was a brother. He was just a brother who delineated on the other side of the coin, on the gay side. And if you look at that and you look at the whole preferences, everything, it changes. But I look at my man, and regrettably so, that we were so focused on so many different topics of our life that it just makes it so difficult to really talk about. Just literally almost everything in our life was like an equal renaissance. It was crazy. And the more sometimes I'll talk to his wife, that she passed away. I mean, she didn't pass away. I mean, she lived through the passing of him. And it's just the things that we talk about is that just that philosophy, but not even philosophy, that relevancy of him being who he was. And I was just like another notch behind him. I was 2 years younger than him, but it was like if we lived the same life. And it's really crazy just to have that notion. And those notions like without the preconceived thought.
Right, you're glitching. So I would do. You're really going in and out. You're going in and out a little bit, Kareem. But I want to grief has it does have its own rhythm, right?
Yeah.
And some days it's quiet in the background, it's a quiet hum, and then other days it's loud enough to drown everything out, and we all know it's all right. And because grief isn't something that we finish, it's something you learn to carry differently, right? Every loop you take back, every loop takes you back through your pain. It teaches you something new. And we all know the first time it breaks you, right? And then the second time it teaches you where you still hurt. You know what I'm saying? And then the third time, maybe it reminds you how far you've actually come. What are your thoughts? You know what I'm saying? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I believe so. I think a lot of times first time it hurts, like you said, the second time you come back thinking about things. It's just a matter of how are you going to really consider those things that you're thinking about in the moment? Are you going to reflect on the goodness of it and then see it for that? Or are you going to sit on the timeline of, oh man, it hurts so much, and hold on to that instead of looking at how, in a sense, this person really was helping you through those transitions. A lot of times, some people in your life, they're made to have you transition to a different scope in your life. So you don't get locked in and think that this is only person that they're supposed to be in your life, that person of melancholy, that person of being steadfast in that one moment that you listen to. But in reality, they're there for more than that, to help you elevate over that situation and
Right.
get to that next level. Because if they were here, how would you react? Would you just ignore them if they say, hey, we got to step up? Or you say to them, hey, we got to step up. We can't just maintain this era, this level that we're at.
Mm-hmm.
We need to do something more with it. And I think that's
Mm-hmm.
what, like, for me, my man Byron, he did for me. He was like, I can't stay in this one area because what is it doing for me?
Right.
I talk to his wife like every other month, but it's like it's a serious point of recognition.
Mm-hmm.
What did that person mean to you? What did that person mean for you? And if you're going to
Right.
stay in that same place, then have you grown in the situation?
Mm.
A lot of people don't think about that. They talk about, oh, the other person died, or this went on, and they transition, but they're not looking at how they took it, how they actually I don't know if prognosis is the right word, but if they
Mm-hmm.
prognosis just the whole existence of them being in their life.
Right. Right. So, right, like we said, it is definitely a different. Everybody grieves different. Everyone. And we all know that, like, and I think I've explained it this way before. Like, you got to think of it like waves at the beach, right? The tide never stops coming in. It just changes in strength. Sometimes you're standing tall and the waves are coming easy, and then it changes, and then sometimes a wave will come and it'll knock you down. But every time you rise up again and you stand a little bit steadier, you stand a little bit stronger in the sand. And that's why grief recovery really, that's like what grief recovery really is. It's not escaping the waves, but it's learning to breathe through them, you know?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because they hit you differently. They hit you differently all the time. It's never going to, I shouldn't say it's never, but a lot of time it doesn't hit you the same way. If you're learning to acclimate yourself to how it affected you the first time, it's
Mm-hmm.
generally not going to hit you the second time in that exact way. It's going to hit you differently. It's going to hit you differently. And how you react to it is the method on how you see it. Because if you see it as a melancholy hit, then it's going to be a melancholy hit. It's going to just lead to sadness. But if you look at it in its rightful message of, hey, that person was elevating to you, then they should stay on that same level. You shouldn't make it a point of, I don't think you should make it a point of making it worse, sedition.
Mm-hmm.
You should make it a point of elevation.
Right.
This person has made me a better person. They have made me a better person, and they are making me a better person.
Mm-hmm.
So if
Right.
not, what are they doing in your life? What were they doing in your life? You got to look at, what are these people doing in your life? I think that's the reason to let people go. If they're not being positive in your life, then you really want this person to be like a lasting memory of hate, or just dislike or dissertation. It's just like, it's not worth it to have that in your life.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. It's funny to me just how people take people in their existence and they just put them in a box. They don't actually look at what they truly meant in your life. People should mean something significant in your life, to the point that you would get up and do something significant for them, to help change other people, help change them if they need change. But the best type
Mm-hmm.
of person, I think, is the person who recognizes their own um, self mannerisms to say that I don't need to change. I'm good where I'm at. What about you? Are you good where you're at? If
Right.
you're not good where you're at, then what are we going to do to make this change? And can I help you in that method of how you want to make that change? But a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people don't. I think a lot of people don't even ask that question because people just like to see other people going through. They don't
Right.
want to try to make them feel better or act better or be better, you know. But I think that's when you concentrate on said person and what their attitudes are towards you, you start to see and you start to realize that this person was really good in your life because they did push
Mm-hmm.
that button, you know, push you to be better, you know, push you to get better if you were in a
Mm-hmm.
bad mode, push you to step up to that higher level.
Right.
Have you ever had anybody in your life like that?
Mm-hmm. Yes, most definitely. I've always had, I'm grateful that my circle of friends, like the women in my circle, are powerhouses, you know. Um are powerhouse women who are always like pushing me to do my best. You know what I'm saying?
That's good.
Yeah, they're always pushing me to do my best. Yep. So, I want to say, like, in reference to um like if today, like sometimes each day, some days feel heavier than others, right? So like if today feels heavier than last week, then that doesn't mean you failed. Like it means that you're still connected. You're still human. You're still human, right? And it means that, the progress isn't always forward. Sometimes it's circular and sometimes it's just like staying in motion, right? And so let's talk about the role, like the role of acceptance and patience. Um, so before we go into that, I just want to say, like, the next time you find yourself like crying over something that you feel like you shouldn't hurt anymore, I want you to remember that healing doesn't mean forgetting. Um, it doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean that you are, it doesn't mean that you're forgetting that person. It means like you're making room for both your grief and your growth to exist at the same time, right? So, and you're not back at the beginning, you're just meeting the same wound with a little bit more wisdom, right?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's it right there.
Right.
You can't approach the same situation, a different situation, the same way you did the last situation. I think that's what TV has taught people, just to decipher different things. Just handle it the same way, and it will mold itself to whatever way you decide to handle it. And that's not correct at all.
Mm-hmm.
Because if it was, then that doesn't make any sense. Why would you handle something different the same way you handled it the last time?
Mm-hmm.
You know, everything is individual for a reason.
Right. Exactly. So we talk about the role, we're moving toward like the role of acceptance and patience. So, you know, Like, okay, so this is wild. So we often think healing means fixing ourselves, right? Like we're broken. And like there's a finish line where everything feels okay again. But really healing, it isn't about rushing to be okay, right? It's about accepting where you are and being patient with who you're becoming, right? Um acceptance doesn't acceptance doesn't mean that acceptance it doesn't mean like you like what happened, right? It means you stop fighting reality long enough to like let it teach you something, right? Think about that. I'm going to say that again. Acceptance doesn't mean that you like what happened. It means you stop fighting, right? Right. Like, I mean, give me your thoughts, cousin Kareem.
Yeah, it could mean a lot of different things.
Mm-hmm. Go with that.
People just don't know how to feel about certain things, about feeling like if the person's getting across, they want to make a statement, they want to say something powerful or strong, but they don't know how to voice it. They don't know how to process how it's processing in their mind. But that's the duty of time itself, because at some point it will make itself known to you, and it's up to you if you want to share it. But then in that same instance, it's got to be a point where you're okay to share it, where you're not forced to share it. Because if you're forced to share it, then it's not really sharing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think so. You know, people that are forced to do things, you might not get the whole message that people are saying that needs to be. This words that need to be said won't be said if it's forced, because it's being forced. It's not of a natural state where you can just take your time and relevantly space the words or however the emotions out.
Right.
You know, it's just coming out and it's going boom. Yeah, this is what I said. So what? There. You know, try to get it out. You didn't let me get it out. Then if somebody was nice enough to actually have a process conversation, they can actually process that whole thing and then allude to the subject that you were actually trying to mention.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And see, and that's the thing, like when it comes to acceptance, it's hard, right? Because we want closure and we want answers and we want the pain to make sense. But sometimes the peace only comes when you stop trying to control the timeline of your healing.
Right.
Right? That's something to think about. Like I've had to learn that patience isn't passive. It's powerful. It's waking up and say, okay, today I might hurt, but I'm still going to show up for myself. Like I'm trusting the process is happening even when you can't feel it, right? It's some days it's invisible, but the invisibility of it doesn't mean that it's not real.
That's true. That is true. It's like the effects of it will never garner the attention that really needs to be garnered.
Right. Mm-hmm. Right. So like if you're in that quiet stage or that quiet space where nothing seems to be changing, like give yourself grace. Healing takes time because it's not just about feeling better, it's about becoming better, right? You're rebuilding parts of yourself like you didn't even know were broken. And that's not an overnight job. You know what I'm saying? That's not an overnight job. That takes time. And like and like the real of it is like acceptance doesn't come all at one time. Some days you accept what happened, other days you fight to fight it all over again. And it's okay because acceptance is something you practice, is not something you just check off a list. It's not a you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's not just things that you just allude to. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. Right.
Well, good stuff to talk about.
Mhm.
It's just one of those things that you have to accept.
Right.
Are you going to continue or are you not going to continue?
Mhm. That is the key. So any final thoughts before we close out?
No.
No. No final thoughts, cousin Kareem, on the healing process. And does anybody out there in Facebook land or anybody watching, do you have?
It's a difficult subject because I think for me, it's just a matter of how and what healing actually looks like. It's really a matter of dealing with that with healing. If you're looking to stay melancholy, if you're looking to stay um, unhealthy, if you're looking to stay anything negative, then it's not healing.
Mm-hmm.
You should find a way to heal,
Right.
and do and look for the betterment in that yourself. I
Mm-hmm.
remember my friend passed away a couple of years ago. It was crazy. It was a transition point in my life to transition out of this job that I thought was susceptible to me
Mm-hmm.
doing better, and I knew it wasn't. And it was just crazy because I found the help from another person
Mm-hmm.
to get into a new field. Then I found the help again to get into the current field that I'm in. But
Mm-hmm.
it's transitional to believe and to think that without somebody's help, you can't achieve.
Right.
But a lot of times people will stay in there to help and not realize that they're actually helping.
Mm.
Because the person who did this, they don't remember who I am now. This is only like 4 years ago. And it's like crazy. It's like you helped me get to the position that I'm in. But then it's like I'm gonna get acknowledged. Okay, you helped me do that. They helped me do that, but don't responsibility for doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess it's not really responsibility because I had for the people that I work for to believe in me.
Right. Right.
I guess in some it's uh it's a difference in meaning for certain things.
Right. Okay.
But he didn't expect me. He told me the last time I talked, he expect me to stay here.
Mm-hmm.
And now I kind of see that a year later from the last time that we had talked. But
Right.
it is what it is. I gotta take
Okay.
my pain and move it.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Okay. Well, in closing, I want to say that, when you stop rushing your healing, you start respecting your humanity. I'm going to say that one more time. When you stop rushing your healing, you start respecting your humanity. When you stop demanding perfection, you make space for progress. And when you finally let go of the timeline, you realize you've been growing this whole time. So, acceptance and patience aren't signs you're giving up, they're proof that you finally decided to live, right? So, like, learn to count on soft progress, whether it's taking a bath, smiling, cleaning a corner, returning phone calls, right? Just keep that in mind. These are the little wins that help you heal in your timeline to heal. So with that, I'm going to say thank you for spending this hour with us. If this episode helped, share it with a friend who might need it. You are not alone in this journey. There's no timeline. There's no right way to grieve, no wrong way to grieve. There's no rule book to this. So honor your feelings and embrace the memories and allow space to heal in your own time, right? Remember that. Again, grief is love for an individual that's no longer present, that has nowhere to go. So, if this episode has resonated with you, or if it reminded you to be gentle with yourself, please share it with somebody who's in the thick of their healing too. And remember, follow Sometimes We Bougie, Sometimes We Hood on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. If you want to be a guest on the show, email Sometimes We're Bougie, Sometimes We're Hood at gmail.com. And remember, we're always very real about this conversation and what we do. So until next time, of course, be kind to yourself, hold space for your emotions, and remember, you do not have to walk this road in silence or alone. And healing might be quiet, but it's happening very small. It's every small win is proof you're still here and still trying, and that is powerful. Okay. So with that, again, remember, always be kind to yourself and be gentle and recognize those small wins. Until next time. And we're going to pick up a part 2. So this celebrating the small wins is definitely not over. It's a deeper conversation, and we're going to continue next Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time right here. All right. Have a great day. A great evening.
All right. Take care.
Take care. It's a podcast dedicated to exploring the complex emotions of loss, the road to healing, and the strength found in remembering.